Let's get into our player ratings as we drew 1-1 with Leicester. First up is Vicario. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him an 8. And the reason I give him an 8 is because I felt like he made really vital saves to keep us in the game, particularly when Leicester were on top. There was that one from Jamie Vardy. There was another one as well, which I can't remember who actually had the effort. I don't think he had too much chance with Vardy's goal. It was poor defending. So I thought Vicario did a major job for the team yesterday.
Yeah, he made obviously that brilliant vital save from Vardy, who was one-on-one. One-on-one Vicario got a big left hand to it. Obviously made another save from Wilfred Ndidi, who had a header which was quite far out, so I did expect him to save it, but he was able to just push it around the post. I never thought he was ever in danger of conceding that. Other than that, he was untested. I think they had 3 shots on target all game, scored 1, and Vicario made the other 2 saves. I did kind of also give him a bit of a point down because he had that massive go at Bergvall, which I thought was completely unwarranted, to be honest. I thought Bergvall...
It doesn't go to his performance, though, does it?
I think it wasn't a good thing for him to do. I don't think he should have been going in Bergvall when Bergvall wasn't given many options when he was given the ball. He was kind of put under pressure, and then Vicario shouting at him when it wasn't really his fault. But look, he had a good game. I don't think he was that tested, but the big moment was the Vardy chance, in my opinion. He made that save, so I gave him a 7.
Let's move on to Pedro Porro up next. 7's all round for Porro, and I thought he started the game really strong with some really good whipped-in crosses from the right-hand side. Obviously did get his goal as well with a nice run and a nice header into the back of the net. Unfortunate for him, it looks like he is injured. I'm not sure what the extent of the injury, if anything's been said about it, but he was hobbling for quite some time in the game, and the whole away end was screaming for Ange to get him off the pitch, where it took like an age to get him off, which was really frustrating. But I do think he had a strong game, but after the first 20-25 minutes, I thought maybe his performances did decrease a little bit.
Yeah, I thought he was excellent in that, especially in the first half. The goal he scored was definitely underrated. The way he guided that header to the back post was really something special. It was a really great flick header from Porro, especially him making that late run into the box was really great. I thought he was creating so many chances as well on the day. I think he set up a chance with Solanke. He was putting in some really good crosses as well from corners. But yeah, his influence diminished a bit in that second half, albeit I did think he dealt with Cordova-Reid fairly comfortably throughout the game defensively, but it really annoyed me how he can try to carry. I know he's doing it because he wants to show that he can play through the pain barrier, he wants to give his all for the team, and I get it, but there was a good 2, 3, 4 minute period where we were basically playing with 10 men, and we tried to even pass in the ball, and he couldn't even take it under control because he was hobbling so much, and it was costing us. And that was actually a really crucial period of the game where we're trying to wrestle back control, and then he's kind of hobbling all over the place. And in that period, we put the ball out about 3 or 4 times, and he just continued. And
but surely that's also on Ange to take him off.
Definitely, but I was screaming at Porro just to sit down and force Ange to take him off because you're clearly injured. You can't continue. Sit down and force him to bring Spence on. It did happen eventually.
It was very reminiscent of like Valise last season, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that was different because Valise we'd run out of subs.
Yeah.
This occasion, as soon as he felt that, you could see he was hobbling, couldn't continue. He should have at least sit down just so he can get treatment.
Yeah.
Just so he can get treatment and get looked at. The fact that he tried to carry on and tried to be brave really could have cost us.
Yeah. Let's move on to Cuti Romero. 6 is all round. I thought in the first half he was a key reason why we could just keep that pressure inside the Leicester half consistently. He was getting the ball, whether it be past him or winning the ball back and sustaining that pressure inside the Leeds half. I thought he was a danger from set pieces as well. Maybe he should have scored. Well, he probably definitely should have scored with one of the chances that he did have. But he's always going to get marked down by the defensive error that he did make for the goal. Vardy's completely free. It's his man, and he should be tracking him. There's no reason why he shouldn't. And I'm just perplexed why a defender of that quality, a World Cup winner, the way he performs for Argentina every single week, the way every single time he's on the pitch for them, the way he performs for us week in, week out. This guy is a top quality defender, so it's kind of inexcusable, the defending that he showed in that moment for Jamie Vardy. But I thought apart from that, maybe a few sloppy passes here and there. Apart from that, I thought he had a fairly good game. Yeah,
I thought he was excellent for the first hour. Really didn't give Vardy a sniff. He was getting the ball, looking confident, playing it forward. And I thought, oh wow, Romero he's starting the season as he was in the international in the Copa America for Argentina. He was imperious, was brilliant, but then did give that goal away, and I have to say, really sloppy from him, really poor marking from a crossing situation, which sometimes he does have that in him, which is very frustrating when he does have a bit of a lapse in concentration sometimes when he's marking, and that did happen again. And I thought after that goal it actually affected his performance. He started getting a bit sloppy. He obviously let Vardy get a run on him for that one-on-one situation as well, which he could have done a bit better with. He couldn't even get back to block the shot. Vardy was able to get the shot off as well. And I thought his when he had the ball, he was a bit don't know, he was just a bit nervous all of a sudden, Romero, which is unlike him. I thought he definitely calmed down, after that Bentancur injury, and once the team settled, he settled as well. But I was a bit annoyed at that period. He seemed to let his standard slip quite a bit, but I think he definitely showed in the first hour, when he's on it, how good he can be. But unfortunately, you have to mark him down for the goal we conceded, for sure.
Yeah. Micky van de Ven up next, 7s all round. I thought defensively he did his job for the majority of the game. I don't think much got past him. I thought in the first half as well, he was showing some really nice moves on the ball, where he was bringing the ball up the pitch, some really the way he was taking it past some of the Leicester players as well. But what I've got a problem with Van de Ven sometimes is his ability when he passes the ball and to make those line-breaking passes. It's nowhere near as good as Romero, and it's something that he does need to improve at centre-back for us. But I thought, on a whole, he did have a really strong display, and I was saying at half-time he was, up there with our strongest players on the pitch.
I was actually going to compliment his passing yesterday. I thought his passing was actually improved in terms of his ability to get it forward. Maybe he could do it more, but I thought... especially actually in that period we were struggling, and when we were trying to win the game, I actually felt in that last 15 minutes or so he was striding into midfield. He was being an extra body in that attacking third, and he was actually trying to force the issue a bit, and I thought I was really encouraged by that. I thought for the first hour anything over the top Van de Ven was just mopping up. So he didn't have to break a sweat. He barely had to put the afterburners on at all in that first hour, but just because he was so clearly getting there ahead of any player, even without getting out of second gear, which was really encouraging. But yeah, I thought he had a pretty good game overall.
Let's move on to Destiny Udogie. 6s all round for Destiny. It was great to see him back on the pitch in the Premier League, and I felt like he had a really strong performance for the first hour. He was, being that bulldozer going up the pitch. He was creating some really nice triangles as well with our players, some really nice passing and moving. He was actually getting in some really good positions without being found, where, I was saying this at the Bayern Munich game, because if he gets found, he's more or less one-on-one with the keeper, and, he's more or less has a good opportunity to score. But I felt like once Leicester got on top of us, Fatawu was actually taking him to the cleaners a little bit, and it wasn't good to see, because his one-on-one defending in those moments in time was actually really poor. But again, for the most part, I did think he had a really good display.
Yeah, I thought similar to a lot of our players, first hour he was brilliant. I thought he was getting really good positions. He was absolutely dominating Fatawu as well. I thought he was striding forward. He was linking up really well with Son and Maddison as well, getting the ball and able to progress us up the pitch. But obviously, he was a bit late to get to Fatawu for the goal, first of all. And then I also felt after that moment, whenever Leicester was in transitions, they were aiming for Fatawu every time, and Udogie was quite out of position quite a lot. I never thought he got beaten properly, but he was definitely not stopping crosses, and was definitely having a lot of trouble just containing Fatawu at that point. And from that point, he definitely did struggle. But I thought he was pretty solid before that, but unfortunately, didn't finish that way.
Pape Matar Sarr, Sim gives him a 4. I gave him a 6. I felt like, again, like in the first half off the ball, I did think he was really good. He was winning the ball back quite a number of times, being really aggressive in the press on that right-hand side. On the ball is really concerning with Pape Matar Sarr, because I felt like it's a trend that we've seen through pre-season, where on the ball he's been really poor. Albeit he did create a chance, didn't he, with a really nice through ball, was it to Dom Solanke? At one point during the game.
Well, for his shot that went straight at the keeper. Was that him?
I'm pretty sure it was him. Yeah,
okay.
But yeah, it's not really the Pape Matar Sarr which we've been seeing week in, week out last season, where he's really good off and on the ball. He's got something lacking on the ball at the moment.
Yeah, I felt he was probably our weakest player, especially for the first hour. He was the one where, when the ball came to him, it was letting it run through him. He was miscontrolling it. He wasn't getting the ball quick enough or doing enough for me to kind of hurt the opposition. I was a bit disappointed with Sarr on that front. I don't think he was like absolutely atrocious, but I did feel like he was our poorest player. I think off the ball he did some good stuff, and we know what he offers off the ball. But I felt like we lacked a bit of technical ability, definitely down that right hand side with Sarr and Porro mainly kind of occupying those spaces, and that's maybe why we struggled a bit more than we did on the left hand side.
Rodrigo Bentancur, sevens all round, and I thought Rodrigo was really good. That anchor in the midfield, the lone pivot in the base at the 6, and look, I thought maybe he was a bit slow to grow into the game, but once he grew into it, I thought he was really good, aggressive, using the ball really well. Pressing high up the pitch, and like I said about Romero, able to like contain that pressure in the Leicester half. I thought Bentancur was central to that as well. So I was really happy with him in the 6th, and we needed a positive performance like that with Bissouma being out and suspended for this game. However, he did get that concussion, so he won't be here next game.
Yeah, which we'll have to wait and see what the medical.
Well, I think concussion is definitely 10 games minimum.
Well, we don't know if he had a concussion. We have to wait and see.
Right, but we used the concussion sub, didn't we?
We did use it, but we did the same with Romero last year when he played. So, look, we'll have to wait and see what the medical staff see, if he's out or not. He might be. He might well be. Probably he will be. But I have to say, I was really impressed again. I thought he was super aggressive. I thought the amount of times he won the ball in the middle third was fantastic. I thought he was again covering a lot of ground. He's looking so much sharper than he was last season. My biggest worry about him last season was he looked completely off the pace a lot of the time off the ball. He was getting overrun. He was getting run past. I look back at that Newcastle game, and I think, I can't remember what player it was, but there was a player just completely burnt him down that right hand side. And I was like, that's not the Bentancur that we know when he's fully fit. It might be an Almiron, but I'm following on from a good copper. I thought of the 45 minutes against Bayern, he looked really strong as well. And then at the start of this game, I thought he was in great form, on and off the ball, getting the ball forward really quickly. Again, similar to a lot of our players, especially in that 15-minute period, his influence started to diminish a bit, and he started to kind of look a bit out of sorts. But for the first hour, I thought he was excellent. I thought he was looking so aggressive, and his pressing was fantastic. And I love the way how he gets the ball forward with minimal fuss, just good passes forward. Sometimes with Bissouma, I get a bit frustrated because the passes are a bit bobbly and they're not as so accurate. But Bentancur's passing a lot of the time just smooth along the ground, into feet, into space, good vision as well, gets Spurs set up on attacks really positively. And look, if he's in this kind of form, I know he's had that injury, which it was a big blow, but if I'm seeing the Bentancur I saw in that Bayern game and in this game, I mean, there's no reason why he can't develop into a really good 6.
Yeah, I agree. But is there a more unlucky player, I swear, in the Premier League than Rodrigo Bentancur?
Yeah, I know.
It's so frustrating how unlucky this guy is. It's just so unfortunate. Like, he gets that mad injury, comes back, first game back, he's incredible against Aston Villa. Matty Cash does him in. It's taken him ages to get back. Once he does come back, he's not up to his silky best, and it looks like he needs a lot more match practice. He gets that, has a really good Copa America, starts the season well in the 6.
Even the Copa he had an injury, didn't he?
And then he played the next game. And then he has a really good game against Leicester, and then he gets concussion. And I don't even know what happened in this game. Was it just a clash of heads?
I think he kind of landed on his head. I think it was kind of... I haven't seen it again, but there was a challenge from a corner. I think it just landed awkwardly on his head. I don't know. Some people say he got knocked out or something like that. He might have done, but by the end of the game, he was up and he was conscious and speaking. So that's positive. Yeah, definitely very positive, and let's hope he's not out for too long. Let's move on to James Maddison. 7 gives us a 7. I gave him an 8. I thought he was back at it. The most impressive Maddison performance I've seen since probably the first 10 games of the season. Brilliant on his old stomping ground at the King Power, and in those first 45 minutes he was so creative. He was dictating the tempo of the game. How many chances did he create? 3 key passes throughout the game, got his assist as well with a lovely cross, but the amount of crosses he was putting in on a high quality I thought was great.
these are the performances that you want to see from Maddison, and we need to see it on a consistent basis now, because he's looking over his shoulder now. We can see Lucas Bergvall and the performance that he's putting in. He can see Dejan Kulusevski and the performances that he's putting in. So it's important for James Maddison, for himself, to put these performances in, to keep himself in the team, in my opinion. So it's great to see him back at it. First game of the season. He did diminish throughout the second half, and it looked like he was a bit leggy and tired, and did end up getting taken off, which he probably should have got taken off a bit before he actually did. But from when he was on the pitch, first hour, I thought he was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and what I really liked about him was his ability to pick up the ball in all sorts of spaces which Leicester weren't able to get to. And he was whenever he picked up the ball in these little pockets of spaces, he was making things happen. He was getting little passes into Solanke, getting 1-2s. He was flicking it past players. He was beating players. He was creating chances. He created chances for Johnson. He created a chance for Bentancur, and obviously he got the assist for Porro as well with a brilliant cross into him. So he wasn't just getting the possession of the ball and not doing much with it. He was actually looking really creative. He was looking on top of his game, and he was looking really sharp on the ball in terms of his dribbling, in terms of taking people on. And that's the Maddison that we know how effective he can be when he's doing all these different things. So that was really encouraging, but unfortunately definitely did fade in that second half. It was starting to get really sloppy. His passes weren't getting to the intended target, and that was a bit of frustration, so I marked him down a bit for that. But I thought for the first hour he was sensational.
Yeah, agreed. Brennan Johnson up next. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. I thought in the first half, off the ball, I thought he was brilliant. His pressing on the right-hand side, in that sense, was really good. He was winning the ball back. He was being aggressive, and that's something I've maybe criticised him in the past for. So it's good to see him improve in that sense. He did have a couple of efforts on goal with that volley, which was, the keeper was equal to. He put a good cross in the first half as well, which no one got on the end of. But in the second half, when we really needed him, he was just really lackluster, and you're asking him to use his strengths, which is his pace, and take on his man on that right hand side, and he failed to do that, and he was just really frustrating. When we need someone to really take the game by the scruff of the neck, you need your winger to really step up for you and create those chances. He was just nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, and that was frustration. I thought second half he was anonymous. To be honest, even late in the first half, he diminished in how he was influencing the game. But what I would say is, for the first half an hour, I thought he was pretty good. To be honest, should have, was a save away from the keeper from having a sensational volley goal. He made 6 tackles, which is more than anyone on the pitch, which showed how aggressive he was and how good he was pressing. And it was a really good ball to the back post, which from Maddison, which found him, and his volley across the face of goal, which probably was really good technique to keep it low, keep it driven. Was unfortunate, couldn't find the far corner, and also probably couldn't find Sonny or Solanke at the back post. So that was really frustrating, and he could have had a goal contribution really early on. But after those moments, really diminished in influence. And actually became a bit of a liability. Was giving the ball away, wasn't linking up the play quite well. And then in the second half, there was a number of occasions where we passed out wide to him. He was one-on-one with the fullback. He tries to take him on the outside, and his crosses keep getting blocked. And I'm thinking, you're one of the fastest players in the Premier League. At least you can do is get your cross off and not get it blocked. And he just wasn't able to get a cross away from the defender, and that became very frustrating. So gave him a 5.
Yeah. Sonny up next. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. Put in a really good ball for Dom Solanke for that diving header, which he probably should have scored from. And I thought it was destined for the back of the net when I was there in the stands. And that was a really good move. Every time what you're going to get in terms of the work rate from Sonny, and that's exactly what you got. But I felt more times than not, he did kind of failed to take on his man and look back and track back, which was a bit of a disappointment. And I felt as the game wore on, he diminished in influence as well.
Yeah, I thought actually second half he was fairly anonymous as well, but I actually thought in the first half his play actually was quite underrated in terms of his link-up play, his ability to create a few chances. When he was linked up with Maddison and Solanke, I thought was doing some really good stuff. He was getting into the box, he was causing trouble. Bit disappointed he didn't get any shots off, which he probably should have, and he should have. And he got himself in some good positions to get some shots off. But I was actually a big fan of his creative play in that first half. But second half, he was completely out of the game. Justin marked him out of the game, and he wasn't able to get involved, and that was disappointing.
Yeah. Let's move on to big Dom Solanke. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. The real reason I'm marking him down, because I actually was really impressed with Dominic Solanke's performance, but the reason I'm marking him down is because the ultimate goal of a striker is to go and score goals, and he had presentable chances that came his way and just kind of like snatched at the shots, and he should be putting at least one of those balls in the back of the net, at least. Could have even had multiple goals on the day, the amount of chances. I think he had 3 shots on target, and they were poor efforts at goal, and you do expect Dominic Solanke to put at least one of those in the back of the net. If it does go in the back of the net, we're going on to win that game 100%. But on the good side, I thought his hold-up play was absolutely excellent. His dribbling ability was excellent. The way he could bring people into play. I thought everything about his game was absolutely brilliant, apart from his finishing ability.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I think his finishing was really disappointing, considering he got some really presentable opportunities, and opportunities where, you know, you'd probably back him to at least get them right in the corner and cause the keeper a bit more trouble than he did. The fact that the 2 headers, I think, were both caught from the goalkeeper, and then that shot was straight at him in the second half will be very disappointing. I actually also thought there's a couple of occasions where the ball was fed into him in the box, and he had a chance to maybe just take a touch and swivel and shoot, and instead he decided to kind of lay it off for another player, and by that time the chance was gone. They got players around him, but really, what was really positive and really encouraging for me was his all-round ability. Something that I knew was good, but I was actually quietly quite impressed with how good it was in this game, because there was a number of occasions he took some passes on his chest with some really good first control. His dribbling was really encouraging, and what was most impressive for me was his ability to take the ball in the penalty area. And even though I criticised him for maybe not taking enough shots, but I think what's really encouraging was his ability to take the ball back to goal, lay it off for players and bring other players into play, and actually hold the ball in the box. And I think last season, on probably a number of occasions where Solanke yesterday was able to hold the ball and create something, probably would have bounced off Richarlison or someone would have been out-muscled, and there would have been a counter-attack for the opposition immediately. And so the fact that we now got a striker who can take the ball in the box, hold it, and either swivel or can lay it off for a teammate is going to really pay off, I think, throughout the season in Swades, because that is something that opposition defenders haven't had to deal with up until now when playing against us. So I really think I was so impressed with that, and I think his hold-up is going to be a big factor for why our attack can really improve, I feel, this season. So I thought it was an overwhelmingly positive debut for Solanke, apart from some gilt-edged chances, which he'll have to take that on the chin, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's like, after the game, I was coming away feeling more annoyed with Solanke's performance than maybe the positives that I should be taking away, because there were a lot of positives in there for Solanke. But when you miss chances like that, there's no getting away from it, especially when you don't win the game. Like, if we do win the game and someone else pops up, then you're probably not thinking about it too much. But at 1-1, when you've got your striker you've just signed for 65 million, missing those kind of chances where he gobbled up 19 goals last season, it is very frustrating.
You've got to remember, it's his first game with the team. I know, look, to be fair, and also you've got to consider, considering it was his first game in the team, the fact that he has such a rapport with a lot of these players and they were able to create these chances for him even in his first game, that's a really good sign, in my opinion. Because a lot of players, strikers, who come into new teams, it takes them a while, apart from maybe that Haaland, it can take them a while to settle in and get to know their teammates and all that kind of stuff. So the fact that immediately he comes straight in the team and already we're creating chances for him, that's a really good sign.
Yeah, I just hope this kind of bad finishing from the first game doesn't start to, doesn't play on his mind, and he just bangs one in next game and gets that off his back, because he should have scored. Let's move on to the substitutes, and let's go on to Archie Gray. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. He came on in midfield, and I thought he had a really positive display. He was knocking the ball about really well. He looked confident when using the ball, and he helped us kind of regain that control back in the game. So it was really positive signs from Archie Gray.
Yeah, considering it was his Premier League debut as well, looked so confident, looked so assured on the ball. I thought there was a few occasions he was maybe a bit naive when Leicester in transition, he made a few bad fouls, which gave Leicester some free kicks and put us under a bit of needless pressure. But I thought when he was on the ball, really encouraging, got the ball forward, again, always looking forward, looking for those passes. Look, maybe wasn't to the level of his first few appearances in pre-season, But considering it's his Premier League debut, first performance on this kind of stage, he looked confident and he looked like he belonged here. So really, really encouraging.
Yeah. Lucas Bergvall next. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. And he came on with a point to prove in the first few minutes, showing those really nice silky touches, trying to take responsibility on the pitch as well and drive us forward. It was unfortunate with that really bad pass that did lead to a chance to Leicester. Obviously, they didn't score. It's a good save from Vicario. But after that, I did think he kind of played within himself and did go for the safer option more than not. But he did take the responsibility of taking that free kick in the last attack of the game, which was a really good delivery. And it found Richarlison. Richarlison probably should have done better. But I think there is, like I keep saying every time I watch him play, there is star quality in Lucas Bergvall at the age of 18. And Maddison, or whoever's playing in the 8, needs to watch behind their backs, because this guy is ready to shine.
I thought he was excellent when he came in. I know he had that moment, but I actually think he was really put under pressure by his teammates and wasn't done any favours, to be honest. And maybe he could have made a quicker decision, but look, he's 18, first game in the Premier League. I'm going to give him a bit of a pass on that one, although Vicario didn't. I thought when he was on the ball, in that final third, he was so creative. He was getting those passes into the penalty area. He was actually making things happen. He was buzzing around. He did things with such quality, such silkiness. I thought it was phenomenal for a Premier League debut as well. And he had that quality to put that free kick right on the money for Richarlison. Last kick of the game, when we needed him to pull something out of the back, he actually did. And unfortunately, Richarlison just couldn't help him out with the finishing touch. But I thought it was brilliant. And you just cast your mind back to pre-season where he put that cross on the money for Dane Scarlett in the Hearts game. He's clearly got that cross in him to just put it right on the money for an attacker in the box. And I'm sure that's not the last time we'll be seeing that kind of cross from him and that quality. And I thought he looked super exciting. There was one move where he uses his quick feet, moves the ball from his right foot to his left foot quickly and passes it down the line. I thought he did everything with a touch of class, and I was really happy with him.
Yeah, like I said, the boy has star quality, and I don't doubt that he's going to push the first team or the guys on the pitch, whether it be Maddison, whether it be Sarr, whether it be whoever's starting in that midfield. He's going to push them very, very soon, and I feel like he's going to break into that first team pretty soon. Let's move on to Dejan Kulusevski, 7s all round. A bit of a surprise that he didn't start, judging by his pre-season. Was the best player in pre-season, but I felt like he came on, didn't let it affect him. He was very creative when he came on. He was looking to make stuff happen. He was tricky on the ball. I think they found it a bit hard and difficult to deal with him, but the reality is no real big chances did come from his good play, but he did definitely help us regain control of that game and helped us be on the front foot again. Yeah,
I thought it was a pretty good cameo, and that was the only real selection that annoyed me, to be honest with Ange, because I thought, given how Decky has been in pre-season, he just had to play. You had to fit him in somewhere because he's been that good. You can't leave him out. And I actually think when he came on, he impacted the game really positively. What's a bit of a crazy stat is Decky, when he came on, got into the penalty area 10 times, which is second in the whole Premier League this weekend, considering he only played 15 minutes or so.
Well, there was 10 minutes at the end, yeah.
So he played 20 minutes. So considering that, that's really impressive, and it shows how hard it is to do that. And I thought he was manoeuvring himself on the right side really well, getting into the box. The only one thing I was a bit annoyed with him, he had a layoff from Solanke in the box, and all he had to do was probably just hit it first time. It was just outside the 6-yard box, a really presentable chance, and he decided to go for a pass instead, and the chance was gone, and that he should have buried that. He had a number of opportunities inside on the edge of the box as well, but just I love the way he uses his physicality to weave past players, not get bullied in certain situations. He obviously earned that free kick right at the end as well with a really brilliant move on Wout Faust, which he sold him for a dummy and got round the side of him. I thought he was causing Everton Leicester a lot of trouble in that little cameo of his, and probably showed why he should have started, in my opinion.
Yeah. Timo up next, and the last player that we are going to rate, Sim gives him a 5, I gave him a 4, and he was right in front of me, and I was just so frustrated with him. Every time he got the ball, the move pretty much broke down. He came on for Brennan Johnson, who was frustrating us anyway at that moment in time, and he came on and he was an equal frustration, in my opinion. And I just keep questioning why we brought Timo Werner into this club. When we bring in Udogie, a 19-year-old, you need to bring in someone with a bit of star quality as well to complement him. So Timo Werner, poor in my opinion.
Yeah, and played on the right.
He was on the
this
right-hand
time.
side, to be fair.
Yeah, I don't understand. It's like he needs it on his left foot to put a good cross in. I don't get it, which is his weaker foot, because he got it on his right side. He couldn't beat his man at all. There was a couple of occasions he did run in behind, but the keeper came rushing out and just beat him to it. I'm not going to blame him too much for that. What I will blame him for is there was a number of occasions he was isolated with his fullback. He got to the byline and just didn't make anything happen. Either he passed it backwards or he lost it, dribbled out. I think he had another one where he dribbled out of play again. He just didn't really impact the game at all, really, on that right-hand side. And look, I know Werner in certain occasions can be really effective, and that was probably the thinking between bringing him back, but I just think we've made a mistake. I don't see why we should have loaned him back again when there are so many other wingers who could have been a better fit for us. And look, I hope he does prove me wrong. I definitely didn't like him on the right-hand side at all. So it was just a very frustrating cameo from Timo Werner. Nothing else to say, really. Last
but not least, Ange Postecoglou. And yeah, maybe you could talk about not starting Decky, but I felt like we're giving him 6s all round. I feel like the team that he did start with was clearly good enough to go and smash Leicester, because that's what they did in the first half. They just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net, and we definitely should have, with the chances that we did have. Solanke obviously guilty of that, and there were other chances for other players in there as well. So you're probably talking about, if one or two of those chances go in the first half, we were probably giving Ange a really high rating, because we go and absolutely dominate the game and bring home 3 points, and you're talking about a really positive display. But we don't put those chances away, which Ange can't account for. It's the players on the pitch that account for that. But what happened was, in the second half, once Leicester get that goal against the runner play with Jamie Vardy, the mentality just completely sleeped out of that team. And you've got to look at the manager as well for that, not just the players. He's got to be instilling this kind of mentality where if something goes wrong, you just go up the other end and you don't let it affect you, and you just keep playing your football and good things will come. And we didn't do that. We just completely opened up, and the management definitely need to answer for that. And I felt like he just took way too long to make the changes as well. Jamie Vardy scored on the 57th minute, and they were opening us time and time again. We only made the changes with 10 minutes to go.
To be fair, Bentancur was down from 70 to 78, so I think that those subs.
That's still 13 minutes.
But they were stripped off and ready to come on at that point.
That's true.
So yes, it's 13 minutes, but you know you could argue like you don't know we're under the cosh until under the cosh, if you know what I mean. So I understand why it took that long to make subs, but he probably could have made them 5 minutes earlier and shaken things up a bit and slowed the game down. Could have taken Porro off as well. He could have forced Porro off when he saw he struggled to continue in the game. The only disappointing thing from the lineup perspective I was annoyed about was Decky didn't start, because I think Decky, again, he's been our best player in pre-season and should have played. So I don't know what kind of message that sends to Decky, given how good he's been. Like, where is he going to fit in? Where does Ange see him?
It's a long season, though. I
know, but like, what was the reason not to play him? Like, you know what I mean? I don't really have a reason not to, unless he doesn't know where to fit him in. Because if he's saying,
but he knows where to fit him in, because he fitted him in all pre-season and he was brilliant.
But the problem is he fit him in the 9. We've got Solanke there now, so he's not going to be playing there. He doesn't see him as a right winger anymore. So
there were times now in pre-season where he played the midfield. Sonny was in the 9 in the first few games.
Yeah, but he changed that very quickly because it wasn't working, and we looked a lot better when Decky was there.
But it wasn't not working because of Decky. It was not working because Son was in the 9.
Correct, but we're not going to. I don't think we're going to see Decky in the 9 much while Solanke and Richarlison are fit. He's not going to. I don't think he wants to play him on the wing anymore. And I also don't think Decky wants to play that role anymore. Does he want to play him next to Maddison? I that was a perfect opportunity to do it, and he didn't. And is he ever going to take Maddison's spot? I don't know. So I'm a bit concerned on that front. If he didn't, I thought he was really going to maybe roll the dice and play him next to Maddison like he did against Hearts, but he decided against it. He thought maybe that'll be too open, which I understand. But you know, when a player's in that kind of form, you have to play him. You just have to try and fit him in, because you have to ride that wave for confidence. And also I'm worried it might affect Decky's confidence. The fact he was so good and he's still not selected. It's like, what else can I do? But we'll see.
On the flip side of that, though, like, we did create enough chances to win that game in that first half without Decky in that midfield.
I'm not saying not playing Decky is the reason we didn't win. I'm just saying.
And also, you want players on the bench that can really go and change that game, and Decky's one of them.
Can Brennan not do that? Like, if we play him on the right, you know what I mean? Like,
You're saying you don't want to play him on the wing, though.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying he doesn't. I'm saying Decky.
Him or Ange, yeah.
Or Ange. I don't.
I don't want him to play on the wing either. I think he's much better in the middle.
I thought he did all right on the wing in the last 10 minutes when he came on, when he moved to the wing when Richarlison came on. But anyway.
But he can be a good impact sub like we saw.
This is the worry. This is what I was saying. The worry is, in our best team, like, where does he actually fit in?
I don't think he does.
That's a problem.
But I think, like, when you're playing teams like a Leicester, when maybe, or a team that, you know, that are really going to camp inside their own box and we're going to pressurise them for the majority of the game, that's where he does fit into the midfield. And I think he could fit into the best team there.
But he didn't play him.
No, he didn't
play him there, and that's what I criticise him for. But in terms of the overall performance, I actually thought it was pretty good. I actually think I don't blame too much on Ange for why we didn't win the game, because I thought he set us up to win this game 4 or 5-1 probably. But what I do blame Ange is, yet again, back post goals. That situation hasn't been sorted. It's a situation where we keep conceding goals like that, and it's something that he seems to, at this point, I don't know if either he doesn't care about or he doesn't know how to solve at this point. I'm starting to get worried about that. But if the plan is to win the games 4-1, and you know we're not going to be worried about that kind of goal being conceded because we're going to score 4 goals, then I don't mind. But we have to win the game 4-1 at that point, and we didn't. So it takes criticism.
Yeah. So that is our player ratings for the 1-1 draw at the King Power against Leicester.